and welcome to Tech to Tech presented by Kaizen, where we will explore common cleaning questions and answers. This session has been pre-recorded and will include additional FAQs related to this specific topic at the end of the presentation. We hope it is 15 minutes well spent. Let's get started. I would like to introduce Kaizen's own Wayne Raney.
Thanks, William. Appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about maintenance, and we'll be talking about seals, pumps, nozzles, and other maintenance items, and how these are helpful. So we'll jump right into it. We'll be talking about seals and materials, including bag filters, curtains, and such. Pumps and plumbing, the types of seals that could leak, nozzles, cleaning them out, and repositioning them. As far as spare parts and what to keep on hand. First, we'll talk about seals and materials, including door seals, curtains, and clean out door gaskets. So this door gasket is right on the window of a machine. So you can see the orange silicone gasket that runs around the machine. You want to make sure that this is free of debris and make sure that the windows don't leak. So you want to keep them clear and tidy. Door seals, this is a door clean out to a tank. And so the seals are actually on the door itself and not on the machine. And so you want to make sure that these are clean as well. And if they leak, then you want to replace them as necessary. As far as bag filters, there's these bag filters come in different mesh sizes, 50 micron, 100 micron. You just want to make sure that you don't go too low where where you impede the pump flow. And so there's other types of filters like cartridge filters. And these cartridge filters come in string wound, solid, or even pleated. And so you just want to pay attention to the core material. They come in different materials. You want to stick with stainless steel or polypro because they're most compatible with different chemistries. You want to try to stay away from the steel because it'll actually rust on you. Curtains. Here's an example of some curtains in an inline cleaner. The curtains actually keep the different sections of the washer separated. Keeps the wash separated from the chem iso from rinse, and the rinse from the dryer. And so it keeps all the fluid in the tank that it's supposed to stay in. This is a different type of curtain. It's got the fingers and it's cut out. And so that different size bores can go through, and it provides a different level of maintaining um, the tanks and the fluid in each tank. Here's an example of curtains that do need to be replaced. And so this particular customer wants to replace these curtains. And so you go to the manufacturer of the machine and they'll be able to supply you with curtains to replace this. And it looks like this one's close to the dryer section, actually. As far as pumps and pump seals, sometimes you'll see a pool of liquid down below the pump housing. And so there's a couple things that can fail, and that's either the mechanical seal or the pump casing seal. We'll also talk about plumbing lines and plumbing fittings. So as far as the mechanical seal that can fail, there's a Type 9 and Type 21. A Type 9 has the four springs. That's a little bit more difficult to install. And a Type 21 has the single spring. So the ceramic can crack or the material can become embrittled and causing leaks in your pump. Another place that can cause you problems with your pump is a pump casing O-ring. So you might want to replace that if it wears. Sometimes it's as simple as tightening the bolts on the pump housing. So sometimes tightening the bolts and after they become loosened over time and the vibration can stop a leak. But I would recommend keeping some O-rings and mechanical seals on hand. As far as the plumbing, there's different types. Some machines have sanitary fittings, and either the clamp can become loose over time, or the gasket needs to be replaced and becomes compressed too much. And so the gasket material, usually we use a Teflon material. And as far as the clamp goes, you could just tighten the clamp Usually it's finger tight, but sometimes you could get a wrench on there and tighten it a little bit more to stop the leak in that area. Another type of plumbing fitting is JIC, and usually this is a 37-degree flare fitting right here. And over time, this can become loosened up, or if there's a mechanical shock to it. So you just want to snug that up. Sometimes the material is just basic hose, and so you might just want to tighten a hose clamp that holds the hose on the output of a pump. Uh, on the output of the pump, sometimes there's hard piping, Teflon line, braided lines, or stainless steel line, braided lines. And so this is an example of stainless steel, and usually they're welded or they have sanitary fittings. And you can have leaks at the flanges. One example of a leak at a flange is this right here on the output of this pump. You can see this flange in the background, and the flange gasket is probably needs to be replaced, or these bolts need to be tightened. That's why you see leaking here down the side of the machine. On polypro piping, you want to make sure that all these fittings right here are tightened by hand. You don't want to get a wrench on them, but you want to make sure that they're really hand tight and snug, or you can have leaks in those areas. There's also a tightness check at the connector on Teflon line stainless steel braided hose. And so the Teflon line is it's got Teflon in the middle and stainless steel braiding on the outside to keep it from getting abrasions on the Teflon. And there's also stainless steel lined lines also. And so you want to make sure the connectors are nice and snug. As far as nozzles and spray bars, we're going to be talking about maintenance and repositioning the spray bars. And so these spray bars are stainless steel, and when you do maintenance on them, you want to make sure that the nozzles are not clogged. And so you just take a piano wire, clean those out, and reposition the stainless steel bars back in the slots. Uh, there's also polypropylene spray bars. And so this is an example of a couple polypro spray bars plugged into a stainless steel header. And these are NPT fittings right here. So again, here's a stainless steel nozzles. You want to clean those out with piano wire, polypro material threaded into a stainless steel spray bar. And there's no need to try to reposition this correctly because there's only one way that this goes in. It's a quick disconnect fitting that goes into the header. When you're talking about nozzles, this is how a nozzle will look when it gets clogged. And so this isn't at actual full pressure. We had to turn it down when we made this video, but it actually shows how a spray nozzle can get clogged up and cause improper impingement on the board. And so after cleaning it out, this is an example of what it looks like when the nozzle is cleaned out. It has nice even fan pattern. Again, this is at lower pressure so that we can film this. But that's just an example how the fan pattern will look after you clean them. When you put the fan nozzles back in your spray bars, you want to make sure that they overlap a little bit. You don't want your spray bars to cancel out the nozzles, to cancel out each other, the spray energy. So you want them overlapping just slightly. And so some spray bars have coherent manifolds, and you can just take piano wire and clean out these holes. You can even take the end caps off and spray compressed air down the center of these tubes. And these actual nozzles are oriented so that they overlap each other slightly. When you put the spray bars back in, especially on MPT fittings, you want to make sure that the last spray bar in the wash section is pointed slightly toward the load end of the machine. That way your wash chemistry doesn't go into the ChemISO section. And so the load end of the machine is over here and the unload is over that way. When talking about batch machines, You do the same thing. You want to take this spray bar off of the manifold and take all the nozzles out and clean them out. And when you put them back in, you want to make sure that they overlap. You want to pay attention to this hole too. This hole is how the spray bar spins in a batch machine. You can take the set screw out and spray compressed air down this tube to get any labels or foreign material out of there. This is a better example of how you can see that the spray bar has its nozzles kind of overlapping, and so you can see the slight angle at which these fan jets are in, and you can also see the nozzle, the hole, basically how the spray bar spins. Some additional items are the eductors and blowers, and then you want to make sure you have some spare parts on hand. When talking about eductors, these guys mix the wash tank chemistry, especially if there's a phase separating chemistry. When you do maintenance on, say, the suction strainer that you can barely see in this wash tank, you'll bump this, and so you want to make sure that that's angled down toward the wash bath, so it's drawing in the chemistry and mixing your bath properly. This is an example of the blower and the blower filter. So you want to make sure you keep a blower filter on hand so you can change that out. If you can see the belt on the blower, then you want to make sure that that is free of, cracks or any kind of wear. Just keep some on hand if you can't see it so that you can change it out if your blower does go down. And then one of the last items, you just want to keep some spare parts on hand, some bag filters, cartridge filters, level switches, and fuses. Make sure when you replace a fuse, you know why the fuse blew in the first place. Just to sum up, we talked about some seals and materials, including door seals, clean out doors and curtains, pumps, nozzles, and some spare parts and maintenance items to keep on hand. But that's all I have to talk about today. We'll go into some frequently asked questions about some maintenance items. One of them is usually, how do I know what type of seal material I should use with a particular cleaning chemistry? Um, we have different materials that we test periodically with all our cleaning chemistries, and so we have a list of um, items that are compatible with our chemistries. And so we have a database formed where we can tap into that. Just talk to your Kaizen technical team to make sure that it's compatible. Talking about nozzles, how do I know if my nozzles are lined up correctly following a spray bar, nozzle cleanout, or maintenance? Um, Usually, what I like to do is after I do maintenance, I'll fill the wash tank up with water only. Don't put any chemistry in there. Make sure all your doors are closed and you can see into the wash tank. And when you do that, you turn on your pump and just for a short amount of time, and you can see if your nozzles are overlapping. You can also see if your last spray bar is angled slightly toward the load end, so your chemistry is not going down into your chem ISO section. Another question that we have is one person is finding that they use a lot of chemistry. What should you do? Yeah, just to follow up from the last question, the last spray bar, you want to angle slightly toward the load end of the machine. And even after that, if you suspect that your wash chemistry is going down the drain, then you just turn your chemical isolation section off while the wash pump is running and you shine a flashlight into your chemical isolation. And if you see fluid going down in there, then you know that something's wrong with the angle of your spray bars. And as far as the type of curtain material that you should use, again, the manufacturer of the machine should have that on hand, any curtain material that they want to order. But yeah, Kaizen does have a list of materials that we have data on that will be compatible with all bunch of different chemistries. But that's about it for the frequently asked questions, and I just want to thank you guys for your time today on watching this tech to tech session. And I'll just go ahead and turn it back over to William.
Thanks, Wayne. Thank you guys for watching this Tech to Tech session. If you would like to discuss this topic further or have any questions not answered in the session, please contact your local Kaizen regional manager or send an email to tech at kaizen.com, and we will have someone follow up with you as soon as possible. Do you want to have exclusive access to future content sent directly to your inbox, or do you know someone who would benefit from these sessions? The answer is yes. Just go to tech by kaizen.com, fill out the subscription form. And if you like this video, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms for more expert cleaning content.